Uh-oh. Stream is bugging out. Give me a second to fix this. I do notice this happens a lot with, yeah, I do notice this happens a lot with, whatchamacallit, science adventure games. The windowing is super weird. Okay, we're back. And I'm refreshed. And we're ready to pick up at the cliffhanger that we left off on. Okay. Ready to go? I hope we're all ready to go. All ready or not, I listened carefully but didn't hear anything revealing. Just a quiet rumble of the air conditioner.
覗き穴とかないの？
Is there a peephole? Come on.
ここはラブホテルだぞ。
This is a love hotel.
ああ、そっか。
Alright.
おい、何を。
Hey, what are you
ノック。
knocking?
お前な。
You can't. This one really answered the door.
ちょ。
Wait. There's a loud sound. I quickly glanced around to see if anyone heard what Serica did.
開かないね。鍵をこっそり借りてくればよかったかな。
It's not opening. Maybe I should have borrowed the key. The balls on this woman. There's no answer from inside. No one was there. Probably.
タク？どうしたの？
Taku, what's wrong?
いや、いい。
No, never mind. Damn it. It felt kind of ridiculous for me to be so serious.
警察もいないし、この階じゃないのかもな。
The police aren't here either. Maybe it's not this floor. Is that broken glass? I flinched back at the sudden noise. What? Was that the sound of glass breaking?
隣からだったよな。
It's from the next room over, right? She's clinging to my back in surprise with her hands on my shoulders.
多分奥でしょ？
I think so. It came from further down, right? Circa pointed to the next room. We stood there for a moment. The violent sound must have scared her because Serica's easygoing mood had totally vanished. But we waited a while and nothing more happened. There were no voices or sounds of struggle. The hallway was the same as ever. But was I imagining it? Or was the hall a little darker than before?
戻った方がいいか。
Should we go back? Serica didn't answer my question. She didn't seem afraid, but she had a serious look on her face as she stared down the hallway. Maybe something had happened and the killer was still there. No, wait, I need to think about this rationally. There was an officer on the first floor who'd called for backup. Usually when a call came in, the police never went there alone. There was always more than one. I found that out for myself during my reporting, so I was sure of it. So there had to be another officer at the scene. The killer couldn't just be hiding there. We about to see a dead officer. If there's any chance of that, the cop would have just had told us to go back to our rooms. Did the killer break the glass during a struggle? No, that didn't make sense either. If there's any chance of them being able to do that when the officer had gone downstairs. He'd probably gone down there to tell the front desk not to let anyone else in. Damn it. I had no proof. But it should be okay. More than anything, I hadn't taken any photos yet. A what? I jumped literally when I heard the sudden sound. It was a very strange sound, one that didn't belong here at all. Is that the same sound as the like the frog, I think it was? Garo Froggy? I looked and saw that Serica had gotten so nervous that she'd taken out Garo Froggy Garoro strap and started to play with it, yeah. She probably didn't even know she was doing it. I softly poked her with my elbow. I motioned for her to keep quiet, and she seemed confused, and then she realized what she was doing and quickly put the strap back in her pocket. As soon as she was done, I looked down the hall once more. She needs to get, like, a stress toy that doesn't make a sound. Because if that's a habit she's going to be doing a lot, then it needs to be addressed, like, pronto. As soon as she was done, I looked down the hall once more, all the way to the front of the room. We should head there. I tried to steel myself and looked over my shoulder once more to make sure no one was there. I started to walk forward very carefully. I was afraid of making the slightest sound. Serica followed me wordlessly with her hand on my shoulder. I grabbed her with my free hand. The other was holding my smartphone. She squeezed it tight. The feeling of her hand kept me strong as I walked forward. Honestly, both of them have balls. Like, you gotta give them credit. Is this just the average journalist experience? The next room. Room 305, the room at the far end of the hallway. Just like room 306, had a plain old door, but it felt like it was exuding an intense pressure.
ここからだよね。
This is where it came from, right? She was asking about the sound.
多分
I think so. I answered despite not having any proof at all. We waited, but still heard nothing. I looked around once more to make sure no one was there, to put my ear up against the door. And then I heard a small sound. It was the sound that I heard outside. The sound from the windows, like a music box playing. This feels like the Reddit horror stories with the music that's playing. It was relaxed and peaceful, even if we weren't, and played the same tune over and over.
この部屋だ。窓が開いていた部屋。
This is the room, the one with the open windows. Serica was looking at me.
開く？
Will it open? No, that's... I hesitated, but she put her hand on the doorknob.
ダメ。
Nope. She seemed relieved but a little upset. I knew exactly how she felt. I felt the same way. I moved away from the door. I would have liked to take some photos before I left, but...
今、鍵の音しなかった？
Did you just hear the sound of a lock? Yeah. That was what it sounded like. We were too confused to move. There's no sign of anyone coming out. I slowly touched the doorknob. The balls on these people, bruh. It turned. The door was unlocked. How? I like to imagine he just shat himself right there. As if guided by all the strange things that are happening, I pushed the record the record button on my smartphone. I gripped the doorknob tighter. I feel the obligation to save right now, because, ooh, the tension. A voice in my mind told me to stop, to go back, was wiped out by the sound of a smartphone recording, starting, and the door slowly opening. The more open, the less I was able to ignore my curiosity. Are we opening it, or is it being opened from the inside? It felt like something besides Serica was pushing me forward as I opened the door. That song was playing in the dimly lit room. All the lights were off, but the sun outside was streaming through the open window. Its light was very weak. The curtain in front of me, which partitioned off a part of the room, was blocking the light. I gulped and realized my lips were dry. I ran my tongue over them to wet them a little, and then I realized my heart was pounding. The sound was so loud I thought my heart might have somehow moved up into my ears. It seemed to be beating out of some bizarre rhythm. It was making me sick. I forced myself to swallow my saliva and hoped it would keep me from throwing up. Then I took a slow step forward. I held up my phone to record what I was seeing, and then I realized something. That curtain wasn't partitioning the room. It was a bed. There was a raised spot off the floor with a circular bed surrounded by a curtain. The light was streaming out from behind it. The windows we'd seen were on the other side of it. The song seemed to be coming from there as well. Crap, it was too dark. I went to flip the nearby light switch, then forced myself to stop. No. I couldn't touch anything in the room. Some kind of crime must have taken place here. But I was scared to go any deeper into the darkness. My shoes made my steps sound loud against the floor. There was no response. Only the relaxed melody. I gave the signal to Sarika, who was still behind me, and went deeper into the room. I don't consider myself a very fearful person at all, but dude, I don't think I'd be able to do this. What? For a moment, I just...
なんか金属がきしむ音みたいな。
I thought I heard the sound of creaking metal. It felt like I was hearing it between the gaps in the music box's melody. But there was no change that I could see. No one jumped out, nothing was moving. It was just the sound of the music box. I looked from one part of the room to another to make sure nothing was amiss. And then I slowly moved forward. Someone was lying on the floor. So, this actually was on the... I don't know if it's on the Steam page. It probably was. Or on the... It definitely is on the GOG page. That there's this frame of like a blonde, like sort of girl sitting up next to a dead cop. So that's kind of how I knew it was gonna be there. Someone was lying on the floor. Huh? When my eyes adjusted to the gloom, I saw a police officer and a woman? The officer was lying up against the bathroom with his legs splayed and his head drooping. The girl was lying on the floor face down. They showed no sign of noticing us. No, that wasn't right. The glass behind them was shattered into 1,000 pieces.
やばい。
Oh god. The second I understood what was going on, my hand holding the smartphone started to shake. Oh god, oh god, oh god. I could see a little blood dripping from the police officer's head. I spun around as I heard the sound. That's terrifying. I hope it's just another dead body, which is, you know, sounds wrong to say out loud, but it's better than the killer actively still being in the room. The warmth drained from my face in an instant, my whole body shivered. Someone sitting on the bed. That's horrifying. I staggered back and slammed into Sarika.
逃げよう。早く。
Let's get out of here. Now. But I couldn't move. My hand was frozen as I pointed the smartphone towards whoever was behind the curtain, and it wasn't doing what I told it to. Damn it. Took a step back, tripped, and then fell to the floor. Oh my god. My lungs weren't working right. The silhouette moved a little, and I flinched. No, it didn't move. The bed was rotating. Whoever's behind the curtain showed no sign of noticing us. They didn't budge an inch. They might be dead.
何なんだよ。
What the hell's going on here? Taku, the door won't open. Well, someone actually does something and tries things and doesn't trip over themselves. Circa's voice sounded like it was far away. I ran back to the entrance and slammed myself into the door. It's not opening. It's not opening.
なんで開かないんだよ。
Why won't it open? I don't know. Circa yelled back at me. I get the feeling the killer is going to come for us, and then before we get killed, the backup arrives, and then he runs away. Or she, you know, whatever. Why? Why? Circa screamed as she slammed against the door. I helped her try to batter it down. But it didn't work. It was like trying to batter down a wall. Suddenly, I heard a knock at the door. I reflexively jumped away without thinking. It was coming from behind this door. The knocking was rhythmic and constant. What? It was just a knock at the door. My whole body started to shake. Someone was on the other side of the door. Someone was knocking. It definitely wasn't the police. I felt as if my sanity was boiling away, melting out from the soles of my feet on upward.
ダメだ。ダメだ。
No. No. Don't open that door. Right. Go out the back.
窓から何とかして逃げよう。
Let's use the window. I grabbed Circa's hand and ran back to the room. I fell silent at what I saw. No. What is that? The curtain was open. There was a man there, sitting. No, he was moving slowly. The bed was moving in time to the sound of the music box. An eerie sound came from the wire wrapped around his neck. The wires hanging down from the ceiling, choking him. His face was all puffed up, and it was a color I'd never seen before. His pants were wet, and the stain extended to the bed itself. The smell of piss and shit hung in my nose. He wasn't alive, he was dead. What the hell is this? Why was he dead? Did he suffocate? Why was the curtain open? What the hell was he doing? Why was he dead? My right hand moved without me realizing it. Huh? I need to use the window to escape. But I pointed my phone's camera at the body instead. Taku, we need to get out of here. The body spun slowly. Each time it went around, the wire made an awful sound, dug deeper into his neck. It dug in so deep by now, the man's neck was the size of my wrist. The skin must have been broken because it was bleeding a little.
何してんだ僕
What am I doing? Circo's right next to me, but her voice sounded far away like she was talking through a telephone. I need to get out of here. But I couldn't stop filming. Why was I doing this? Why was he dead? The wire dug deeper and deeper into his neck without waiting for me to come up with an answer. The body turned away from me. I could see the back of his neck, the flesh around the wire was swollen red and black. I heard a muffled sound like something hard snapping inside of the bag. The head slumped just a little. The neck had just broken. That must have been the sound of his neck breaking. Taku, let's get out of here! I could hear Serika's voice. Get out of here? Get out of here?
そうだ
That's right.
逃げなきゃ
I need to get out of here. My body moved as I heard another sound. I spun around. Oh, that's horrifying. I screamed. And then I heard something from behind me. I don't know what I did. But the next thing I knew, you shat yourself. My whole field of vision had turned red. What? I felt something like a ball hit me. Before I could understand what it was, everything faded to black. Oh, that's... I don't even know how you'd be alive after that. Like, what? September 30th, 2015, Wednesday. Well, who's the new protagonist? Were we playing as... No, I doubt it. I was gonna say, were we playing as, like, the new gen victim for, like, this first segment? midnight. Oh, so this is the events leading up.
新庄さん、所持品と防犯カメラの映像から親族に裏取れました。
Shinjo-san, we managed to ID the victim from his possessions in the security cameras.
死亡したのは柿田博則22歳。渋谷在住のフリーターで更新でマーケティングのアルバイトをしていたようです。
His name is Kakita Hironori, 22 years old. It should be a resident with a part-time working job at SaveWorks. Damn, they're really just killing off a bunch of 20-year-olds. I don't know what that's all about. Fictional, a venture capital company located in Shibuya that participated in the post-earthquake reconstruction business. Oh, great. So, the security camera people. SafeWorks is known for investing an incredibly large amount of money in order to monopolize the construction companies involved in the reconstruction. Following this, they have moved on to other projects involving the introduction of new infrastructure, such as the proposal, development, and installment of high-power security cameras around the city for the sake of maintaining public order. They've also made humongous efforts in supplying business models and partnership opportunities to various nonprofits and volunteer groups, as well as helping establish self-sufficient communities among the survivors. As a result of their actions, their profits have skyrocketed. However, despite the company's assistance, some earthquake survivors and other local residents claim that SafeWorks is a cruel, tyrannical company that does not hesitate to use evictions in eminent domain to forcibly seize any property they want in the name of reconstruction.
更新でバイト？恋人は？
A part-timer at SafeWorks? Any lovers? So they killed one of their own employees?
いません。同居人もなし。一人暮らしだったようです。
None. No roommates either. He lived alone, it seems. Wait, what if this is different this time? Because in the previous game, why do I keep saying previous game? In Chaos Head Noah, well, yeah. The new gen murders were being done by the Divine Light, Cosmic Church, whatever, to, you know, break Takumi, get his code sample, yada yada yada. But what if this time is different? What if the new gen killings aren't done by the bad guys in this game, supposedly, well, quote unquote? Not SafeWorks, not like Committee of 300, but just by some vigilante trying to fuck with SafeWorks, potentially. Okay, no, sorry, none, no roommates either. He lived alone, it seems.
くそ。
Shit. Shinjo cursed. If he was single and not in a relationship, it would take time to figure out his private life. And SafeWorks is one of the companies that profited the most from the recovery projects in recent years. Part-timer or not, if you worked there, he was probably pretty busy. It was possible that his co-workers knew just his name and nothing else about who he was outside of work.
新庄さん、マスコミへの対応どうしますか？海読みテレビやニコニアのネット記者が引き下がらなくて。
Maybe this Shinjo... Why did I say Shinjo? SafeWorks part-timer is like a potential whistleblower, and they had to kill him off? I don't know. Shinjo-san, what do we tell the media? Kayomi TV and Nikoniya's net reporters are refusing to leave.
それから現場にいた例の子たちですが、壁標の新聞部と言っていた2人、状態は落ち着いたみたいなんですが、やはりところどころ要領を得ません。
Okay, so this is not pre events leading up, but this is actually after they passed out, or after Taku passed out. So this is the reinforcements, basically. And those two kids we found the scene who said they're with the Hekiko newspaper club. They've calmed down, but it's still not making a lot of sense.
もう一人の女の子も身元を示すものを何も持っていなく、柿田の交友関係、親戚筋から洗っていますが、まだ当たりません。こっちは完全黙秘です。
The other girl doesn't have anything that would tell us who she is. We're checking if she's a friend or relative of Kakita's, but no luck yet. She is refusing to say anything.
あと、先ほど検視の方から問い合わせが。
Also, forensics want to know.
待て、勝手に。
Hey, you can't just...
ニコニアニュースの渡部です。すいません。一体何が起こって？
This is Watabe from Nikoniya News. Excuse me, what's going on here? Fictional, a news site offered by Nikoniya Video that provides information on a number of topics. The site primarily consists of articles regarding news stories submitted by various groups and individuals, but Nikoniya has recently started attempting to do their own reporting, including sending out their own reporters to conduct exclusive interviews. Huh. This all feels very... Oh my lord. Okay, hear me out, hear me out. What if Nikoniya is behind this? What if what's happening is all these murders are happening to Nikoniya influencers because they want to draw any publicity to Nikoniya? Like, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, as long as people hear of Nikoniya, then that's a win for them. Just getting into the word of mouth. And this Nikoniya news stuff is just icing on the cake, where it's like, hey, these new gen murders, this is material for our news station. Am I cooking?
出て行け、許可なく入るな。
Get out. You can't come in here without permission.
一言お願いします。
Just a brief comment. A brief comment is all I need. Shinjo's men physically drag the reporter out of the room. He had to stop himself from putting his hands to his head and moaning. He couldn't let his men see him acting weak. Shinjo had been with the police HQ Section 1 for less than 7 years. He didn't get along with his supervisors, but he managed to beg his way into being in charge of the case. Huh. Okay, so in Chaos Head Noah, the detective, well, the detective's partner, I guess, was behind the new gen killings. Now, I'm not saying they would repeat the same thing twice, but Shinjo is on fraud watch. And also the fact that he begged his way into being in charge of this case, it makes you wonder why. Because I imagine this is the only case that's ever happened. And also, it's not like he knows the details of the case before he arrives on the crime scene, right? Like, why would he beg to be like, I need to do this case that we just heard about today, that something went down? Like, why? He doesn't know anything about it. This could be like anything. Maybe this is his way of avenging the death of an older detective who he'd admired. How did he know that any detective... Well, okay. I guess he would have heard through the police phone that partner's dead, we need reinforcements. Okay.
窓枠の鑑識が終わったらすぐに外から見えないようにしといてくれ。あのネット記者は最近何するかわからん。
The thing is, it says maybe this was his way of avenging the death of an older detective. So it's leaving a lot of room for plausible deniability here. Like, yeah, maybe this was the reason, but also might not have been. Because, like, why wouldn't they just say, yeah, this was his way of avenging the death of an older detective? Why wouldn't they just write that? Because they don't want to technically lie to the reader and say, well, it said earlier this was the reason why. So, okay. Once you're done looking at the window frame, make sure it can't be seen from the outside. There's no telling what this net reporters will do.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
検視は俺が直接対応する。あ、それから会社の仕事周りへの人数を増やしてくれ。上には後で俺から言っておく。
I'll talk to forensics myself. Oh, and put some more manpower to checking his connections at work. I'll tell the bosses.
はい。それで例の子たちは
Yes, sir. So what about those kids? You know, I'm also starting to realize, like, it's kind of a trope. I don't know if it's just, like, in Japanese games, or maybe it's because I just play a lot of Japanese media, but... Okay, I don't want to spoil... It's not my place to spoil things that you didn't agree to be spoiled on. I assume you already watched Chaos Head Noah. You know that the detective was actually the bad guy, but that's not actually the only game I've seen the detective be the bad guy. So, yeah, I can't really say more without spoiling a completely different franchise. Yes, sir. So what about those kids?
それも俺が持つ。じゃ、よろしく頼む。
I'll handle them too. Get to it.
はい。
Yes, sir. His men raced out of the room. They never had a case like this before, and they were probably pretty excited. So was Shinjo, to be honest. The whole thing was such a mess that he didn't even know where to begin. His detective's instincts were screaming at him to start doing the work needed to find the killer.
よし。
Okay. Oh my god. Oh my Oh my... Okay, here's the thing. I really hope they didn't just spoil everything with this. Oh my... Oh... Okay. You cannot get mad at me. I assume you have already watched Chaos Head Noah. All the endings. Okay? Do we have that out of the way? Good. I'm gonna spoil something. That's Momose. That's Momose's voice. She works for Frisia Credit Bureau. She's part of the Committee of 300. I'm kind of mad if they actually just spoiled everything because they assumed you didn't play the first fucking game of the Chaos little sub story. Oh my god, I really hope I'm not just gonna be playing 40 hours of this game knowing that Shinjo is the bad guy and the game just assumes that I don't know Momose, or okay, yeah, okay, Shinjo's the bad guy. Hello, this is the Frisia Credit Bureau. His call was answered on the first ring, like always. Like always. Okay. So basically, these guys, Momose and Shinjo, are on a first name basis.
俺です。
It's me.
あら、新庄ちゃん、遅かったわね。もうちょっと早く連絡が来ると思ってたけど。
Oh, Shinjo-chan, you're late. I thought you'd be contacting me earlier. Okay, so basically, the Committee of 300 loves to put operatives on every new gen case. Got it.
あ、すいません。
Shinjo Takashi. I'm sorry. Shinjo apologized without thinking for no clear reason. He always felt like a naughty child when he spoke to the CEO, who happened to be a woman. She's a CEO? I don't know if it said that in Chaos Head Noah, but I guess she is.
現場の面倒をちゃんと見てるから苦労すんのよ。少しはあの人みたいにチャランポランで行きなさいな。
You know why you're so exhausted? It's because you're taking this so seriously. You should relax a bit like they did. Like Suwa.
先輩の性格まで見習うつもりはありませんよ。
I have no intention of copying their habit. Dog, is this game really just gonna go the entire way, assuming that I don't know anything about the first game? I really hope not, because that would really soil the whole fucking experience if that was the case. And there also would be repeating the same thing twice, where the detective is the bad guy. Dear Lord, I pray that is not what's happening.
真面目だわね。いつまでも真面目が美徳だと思ってると痛い目見るわよ。
You're so serious, aren't you? If you keep on thinking that's a virtue, you're going to have a bad time of it one day.
百瀬さん、そんなことより相談したいことがあるんです。
Okay, so it'll they just went out and say it. Momose-san, there's something I want to talk to you about. Shinjo cut her off before she could continue her lecture and gave her a brief description of the scene. Okay, so this is interesting, because normally in Chaos Head Noah, they already know what the crime scene is going to look like, right? Because Suwa does the crime. But in this case, Shinjo is giving a description of the crime scene to Momose. Meaning they didn't do it? They don't know what the crime scene looks like? Or, I don't know. Are they just telling her about, like, the fact that 2 high school students were there? Because that's the only thing I imagine could be like, oh, she wouldn't know that. This is a violation of the rules, so the only way to solve a crazy case is to be a little crazy yourself. So he is trying to solve it? Not just, like, playing... Oh, because, again, if the game is assuming that I haven't played Chaos Head Noah, then it still wants me to believe that Shinjo is actually trying to solve the case. But it's also possible that he actually just still isn't trying to actually do that. That was the first thing he learned from that older detective. Who, Bon?
それって殺人なの？自殺なの？
Was it murder or suicide? Yeah, I'm like 99% sure the game is just trying to pretend that they don't know what happened to new players, and assuming I haven't played the first game. That just makes the most sense, because she's Committee of 300, no ifs, no buts. Once they asked her a question after you described the situation, should cut to the heart of the problem.
現状ではそれがわからないんです。
We're not sure right now. Yeah, whatever you say, man. The hotel had gone suspicious when Kakita had never come down after checkout time. When more than 10 calls to the room went unanswered, they contacted the police. 2 officers, as well as someone from the hotel, had gone to the room where they found the body and an unconscious girl. One officer stayed at the scene to keep it secure, and the other searched the hotel to make sure it was safe. During the search, he'd forgotten to lock the employee entrance in the back near the stairs. That was how the 2 students from Hekiho got in. Shortly after he left the room, the girl woke up and started strangling the officer who stayed behind. He'd hit his head on the edges of the glass window and knocked himself out. He was going to be fine, but he'd been out cold until backup arrived. Well, that's good. At least he's not dead. When the backup got there, they found the girl unconscious on the floor. A boy from Hekiho was passed out on the floor too. The other girl from Hekiho was throwing up, also on the floor. Kakida's cause of death was asphyxia via strangulation. Okay, so that guy obviously did die. The wire around his neck was a kind used at construction sites. It had been hung in an X pattern from the lights on the ceiling. And he'd been sitting on the bed as it rotated. That's why there was so much pressure on his neck that finally his head had been severed. From the estimated time of death, Kakida had passed away before the police had even been contacted. The body was on the bed, kept spinning in time to the music, one rotation every 2 minutes. In the end, the man's head had been cut off completely. The problem was the girl in the room. There was no indication that she had ever touched Kakida. There was no fingerprint or any other signs that she touched Kakida's body, the bed, or the wire. The only thing they'd found under her fingernails were skin and blood from the officer she'd strangled. In fact, there was no indication she touched much of anything in the room. Everything they found belonged to Kakida. And according to the officer she strangled, when she attacked him, she had clearly been in an unstable psychological state. Her eyes had been bloodshot and out of focus.
つまり何？その女の子は柿田って男が死ぬのを黙って見ていて、部屋の中のものにほとんど触れず、混濁した意識のまま警官に襲いかかって首を絞めたと。
So, what are you trying to say here? This girl just watched Kakita die without touching anything in the room, and then started strangling a police officer while temporarily insane? Shinjo scratched his head as he heard her sum up the situation. That's what it looked like, at least from what they knew right now. Just going by that, it sure looked like a suicide. It was all far too strange.
なるほど。厄介だわね。現場に入り込んだっていう壁砲の子たちは？
So, I think the reason why we're even having this conversation where Shinjo has to describe the crime scene to Momose is not the fact that they didn't do it, because they did do it, but they also have to follow up and make sure that it happens as they planned. In this case, the 2, obviously, Hekiho students were there, so that's what he's here to report. I see. This is a bit of a problem. What about these kids from Hekiho that got inside the room?
ショックが大きかったようで、最初は何も喋らなかったんですが、今は少しずつ話し始めています。
Seems like it was pretty traumatic for them, so at first they wouldn't say anything, but now they're starting to talk. I also hope it's not the writers doing the same thing twice, where it's just them trying to break Taku again and harvest his code sample.
ですが、いろいろと問題のある壁砲の子ですから。
But they're from Hekiho, and that place has some issues. He checked with the school and verified that they were part of the school's newspaper club. The security cameras at the rear entrance had seen them coming in, which matched up with their testimony. But he didn't know what to make of their testimony that the door had opened on its own, or that someone else had tried to come into the room. The door was equipped with an automatic lock. The only person inside the room who could have opened it was that girl. But there was no sign of her fingerprints on the door. The security camera in the hallway showed no signs of anyone else trying to go in. In any event, it was extremely rare for a civilian to see a dead body outside of a funeral. an unstable mental state, it would be extremely easy for them to imagine things or just outright be mistaken about what was going on. If they turned out not to have any relationship to Kakita or the girl, he planned to let them off with a stern warning.
結局のところ一番大きな手がかりは部屋に潜んでいたその子なんですが、何も喋りません。
Our biggest lead is the girl who's in the room, but she's not talking.
そのままだと非感知よね。
She's probably going to be put under psychiatric hold at this rate, right? Used here to refer to the act of keeping someone in custody in a designated location, such as a mental hospital chosen by the police, until their psychological state has normalized. Okay, so we know that during the Reconstruction, SafeWorks essentially monopolized the rebuilding of Shibuya. So it's possible that they're going to try to move her into a mental hospital that's owned by SafeWorks. I don't think it'll be Nozomi, or like the Cosmic, well, it might be Nozomi, but I don't think this one will be run by the Divine Light, Cosmic Church of the Divine Light, because we saw in the Senna ending that the Cosmic Church was essentially just like pawns. They don't really care. The Committee of 300 doesn't really care about that.
はい。そうなると大幅に捜査が遅れることになるので、そうしたくないんです。
Yeah, but that'll slow down the investigation a lot, so I'd rather not go that route.
わかったわ。ちょっと情報を回させてちょうだい。多分新庄ちゃんの立場的に無理してもらうことになるから覚悟はしといてね。3分後にこっちからかけ直すから。
Got it. Let me get some information spread around. Given your position, this is probably going to be pretty rough for you, so be ready, okay? I'll call back in 3 minutes.
あ、助かります。よろしくお願いします。
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. Shinjo went to hang up the phone.
ああ、ちょっと。
Oh, wait.
あ、はい。
Yeah?
そういえばお願いがあるのよ。絶対に新庄ちゃんのためにもなることなんだけど、聞いてくれないかしら。
Actually, I want you to do something for me. I'm sure it'll be a big help for you too. Can you do it? So it's basically an order then, Shinjo thought to himself.
何ですか?
What is it?
この件に関して私より詳しいうちの子が一人いるのよ。それで今回の現場を直接見たいって言ってるんだけど、お願いできない?
Okay, so see how it says, so it's basically an order then, Shinjo thought to himself. Literally. Because Shinjo literally reports to Momose, and Momose literally reports to the Committee of 300. It's foreshadowing. One of my kids knows more about this than I do, and they say they want to see the crime scene personally. Can you help them out?
部外者を現場に?
You want me to let an outsider into a crime scene?
いつだって物事を解決するヒントを与えるのは部外者よ。
It's always outsiders who'll give you the hints you need to solve the case. Oh, see what's going on here? What they're trying to do is get an outsider's perspective to look at this crime scene and be like, what would someone who's not in on this think when they see it? So that they can iron out the inconsistencies, so they can make it look more believable. They're almost like a quality assurance, you could say, like play testing their little crime scene with outside people, so that they can make it better, so to speak. After all, I'm an outsider too, she continued. Yeah, he says, because not really. You're not an outsider. You're in on this. In his head, Shinjo went over the steps he'd have to take and the time required to take them.
明日、いや、明後日で構いませんか?
Can it be tomorrow? Or no, the day after?
さすが新庄ちゃん、話せるじゃない。よくそれで堅物揃いの捜査一課に残れてるわね。
That's my Shinjo charm. Glad we could work this out. I don't know how you manage around the rest of those hardheads in Section 1.
ではよろしくお願いします。
Alright, talk to you later.
あ、ちょっと新庄ちゃん。
Also, I wonder why, from a writing standpoint, they chose to make Momose CEO of a credit bureau. Because when I think of, like, credit, right, I think of, like, banks. And, like, I don't really see what that has to do with the Committee 300. I guess maybe it might have said somewhere in the tip that, oh, the Committee 300 controls the world through banks. Which, feels like... It feels like something... like a dog whistle, but I don't know. Hold on a second. Shinjo-chan, would you? He barely stopped himself from ending the call.
まだ何か
Is there something else?
念のためアドバイスをしとこうと思って2つね。
I want to give you some advice just in case. 2 things.
言っておくけど、さっきのは冗談じゃないのよ。
First, what I said before wasn't a joke, okay?
は
チャランポランで行きなさいっていうやつよ。
You need to relax a little. Don't take everything so seriously.
これから間違いなく新庄ちゃんの理解の外にある事件は続くわよ。その時一番邪魔になるのは常識だから気をつけなさいな。
I'm sure a lot of things are about to happen that will be beyond your understanding. When that happens, your worst enemy is what you think you know. Yeah, they're just rubbing it in. Yeah. Momose runs the show here.
肝に銘じます。
I'll make sure to remember that.
そこで真面目に返事しているようではまだまだね。
If that was a serious answer, you still got a long ways to go.
もう一つはね。
And the other thing is, Momose paused for a second and chuckled.
うちの子に取って食われないようにね。油断してると新庄ちゃんが部外者になりかねないわよ。
Don't let my kid get the better of you too often. If you let your guard down, you'll end up an outsider yourself. Outsider as in outside the Committee of 300? September 30th, 2015, Wednesday.
なあ、スイポ見た？
Hey, did you see that thing on Twippo?
ああ、壁砲ボットのネタ画像でしょ。でっかいウーパがドヤ顔して光るように座って渋谷も変わったとか言ってる。
I'm actually going to end the episode there. I feel like that's a good ending point. And I'll probably pick this up later today.